Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? My name is Kyle, you know me as Dragonmar, and welcome to a new video. Today guys, we'll be going over 10 tips and tricks for the brand new agent Skye. I was fortunate enough to be able to play Skye in competitive while the patch was still live, and because of that, I learned a lot of really interesting things, as well as some kind of interesting methods to play her, and just things that I thought were worth sharing. So I wanted to share that in this video here. I've got 10 listed out for you guys today. Honestly, if you get a chance to play Skye whenever she comes back, I definitely would. I had a blast. But with that being said, if you guys do enjoy the video, hey, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and of course tap that bell. Also want to give a big shout out to my Twitch community, twitch.tv/Dragonmar. I stream pretty much every day starting at 12 p.m. Eastern. Love to see you guys there, as well as my Discord community, link down below for that. Discord, great place to find people to play with, ask questions about the game, and just generally have a good time with the community. Appreciate you guys so much, and let's start the video. Starting the video off with tip number 1, and that is to flash and move. Now, Skye has 3 flashes, and they are in the form of birds, which is the guiding light ability. Now, these flashes are extremely good, and they can be moved, which is insane. But the coolest part about them, in my opinion, is that you can be completely independent of the flash and moving while the flash is also flying in a direction. Now, obviously, it's going to be really hard to control it if you're doing that. But if you throw your flash at a certain angle and let it fly and then move in a different direction, you can find yourself catching the enemy in some very, very tough situations. What you'll notice on this map is at one point I actually am on, I believe it is the B bomb site, and I'm playing around those center bomb boxes on the site, and I flash to the right and I move to the left. The flash is obstructed on my screen by the boxes, but not on the enemies. I'm able to get a clean shot on some of those players, and I just thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, because we're really used to doing that with like Phoenix and stuff, or maybe even Breach, where you like flash to one side, move to the other, but it could be a little slow because you can't always time things perfectly. But because the bird flies and can stay sort of unexploded, that's a weird way to say it, for a period of time, it makes for some incredibly good outplay opportunities. So my biggest tip here is definitely to learn how to flash and then move with your flash. All right, coming at tip number 2, I want to stick with flashes here, and I want to talk about flashing over buildings and over structures. Now, why am I even talking about this? Well, guess what? There are not a lot of abilities in this game that blind people that go over objects. Think about it. What other flash in this game can be thrown? This isn't like Counter-Strike, where, you know, there's pop flashes, you can throw stuff over buildings. No. This is Valorant. That doesn't happen. All the flashes are kind of on ground level. Think Phoenix, and maybe the closest you get, honestly, is Reyna with her Leer, and even that has a very limited range. With Skye, literally the sky is the limit. So what I mean by this is that a lot of players are not used to the verticality you see with Skye's abilities, and obviously in this case I'm just talking about guiding light, because you can just send it straight up into the air. It's unbelievable. What does this mean for you? How can you take advantage of this, and why am I talking about this? Well, the tip here is that you want to send your flashes over buildings as often as you can, and into high places as often as you can. Why? Because the enemy team is not going to be ready for that. It's going to take time for people to adjust to the fact that there is a new threat in this game, and that threat is about a flash flying like over objects in the air, which is just something that's unseen. Like, yeah, people throw nades and they throw mollies over stuff, but flashes, especially a flash that lasts this long, it's going to be unbelievable. So you're going to notice on this map as well, on the B site, once again, I do flash over sort of that little woodshop area, which goes onto site, right? Because who is going to expect a flash coming over there? So yeah, another huge tip there is definitely flash over buildings. All right, tip number 3, I want to talk about the Trailblazer ability. Now, if you're not familiar with Skye's ability, she has an ability called Trailblazer, which sends out what is essentially a little dog, which is kind of awesome. It looks awesome, by the way. Sends out a dog, and it kind of acts like a recon drone. So that's what this tip is all about. But the cool thing about Trailblazer is that just like the recon drone, you can use it just only for information if you want. Now remember, it is nearsighted, so the vision on it is not great, but for clearing corners and stuff, it's unbelievable. So my biggest advice is, if you find yourself as a player who maybe doesn't excel in an entry fragger role, but you want to provide the support maybe that someone like a Sova does. You could find yourself playing Skye and using Trailblazer as a way to entry into sites or just take those tough spots. I'm thinking one of the spots I used a lot here on Ascent was actually over on Cat and getting into Tree, because those corners are so tight, the nearsightedness isn't going to affect the dog, so you're still going to have great vision. And I was able to find a lot of great opportunities to clear those areas with Trailblazer, and I used it just like a Recon drone. And staying on Trailblazer, tip number 4 is that Trailblazer is amazing for retakes. Overall, I think Skye is probably one of the best agents now in the game for actually retaking sites when she has utility. Now, the reason for this is that essentially what you're looking for on a retake is information. Now, if you can get information, you can start using that sort of process of elimination to figure out, okay, if a player's here, a player can't be here, or if a player's not here, they're probably here, things of that nature. You're looking for all kinds of abilities like that. Why do you think sites are normally started to be retaken? By using a Recon bolt, for example, with Sova. Well, just like with Sova, with his Recon drone, you have Trailblazer. Trailblazer is amazing for this type of stuff. One of the spots you'll see that I use it on Ascent, I believe, is on the A-bomb site. I hope it's the A-bomb site, where you jump under heaven, right? And a lot of players will hide under heaven, or they'll be by generator. Well, with a dog, you can get down there. You won't be nearsighted to the point where you can't see, and you just lunge at them. And you'll damage them, you'll like stun them. It's perfect. That's exactly the type of stuff that you want to be doing with your Trailblazer. You gain so much information, and it moves so fast. I believe it's much faster than the drone. It's sort of that perfect ability to hold on to for late in the round and use for retakes. Your teammates can follow it in as well. They can trade it out. Remember, it can be destroyed. So you're going to either learn, okay, a player is here because they shot it, or I just stunned this guy, let's go kill him. It's such a great ability. Honestly, I don't really want to talk too much about it being overpowered, but it just feels amazing, her kit. And for retakes, it feels wonderful as well. Okay, coming to tip number 5, let's talk about the ultimate ability. And this is just like I believe it was the wolves that you see in Spike Rush. Now, what do you do with the ult? You chase it. Okay, hear me out on this. Now, the ult will send out, I believe it's 3 dogs. And these dogs are going to chase the nearest enemies. And remember, keyword is nearest, right? And this is really important to understand, because what you can use this for a lot of information. It's going to tell you where the closest 3 players are, which can be very, very important. Now, the problem is that these are going to run pretty far away in a lot of situations. So you're going to have to get behind it if you actually want to get any value. So what does this mean? If you're going for a site take, using this ult in like the furthest corner towards a site is going to send those dogs to the closest players. And those closest players will be on the site. This is when you want to start chasing them. Even if you have to flash in, it doesn't matter if you're using your flashes, you still want to chase these dogs because you don't want to give the enemies time to recover from them. So what's really important here is don't just send the dogs in and stay back. I hate when I saw that in my games, when I would use my ult and nobody would come with me. Maybe, I mean, obviously it was brand new. People were just figuring it out. But what's really important here is you want to follow this ult in. Do not stay back and just let the dogs do their things unless you're going for some special sort of info play. You definitely want to be behind this ult at a reasonable difference where you can actually make a play. Think about it like an entry fragger, right? You want to be close enough to trade them out, but not too close where you're getting collided. Tip number 6 is actually a playstyle tip, and that is to think of Skye kind of like Breach. Now, she is definitely a support type role, could definitely be a carry role as well, but she is an initiator, and this is actually something I was surprised about. I was like, oh, she's an initiator. I didn't realize that. But then I start playing her, I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. Absolutely. So if you think of Skye like a Breach, that is kind of the perfect spot in your mind and in team comps where you want to place her. You have to be careful though, because remember, she has 3 flashes. If you also get a Breach, he'll have 3 flashes. Now you've got 6. This is where you can start mixing and matching compositions if you wanted. I don't want to get too much of that in this video, but the idea with this tip here is that if you can think of Skye like a Breach, it'll help you play against her a lot better and play with her a lot better. Realize that she is not the agent that is going to lead the charge in with her flashes, or she is not going to lead the charge in, you know, with some sort of stun or something, right? Her bird, for example, her guiding light, you kind of have to stand still a bit to control that, because it is a little bit difficult. I was still trying to get used to it even after my like 4th game with her. Then you've also got Trailblazer, which is going to completely take your Skye out of the whole movement part of the game because she's locked into the dog. So it's really important that if you do have a Skye on your team when she gets re-released here, that you make sure you treat her just like a breach and let her set you up on those entry rolls and play off of that. Don't expect her to go in first. And if you, like I just said, if you are playing Skye, play her just like you'd play a breach, and I think you're going to find a lot of success. Do not try to do things solo. Try to play her with your team, and I think that's where you're going to see the most success with Skye. Okay, a really cool tip here, tip number 7, is that your guiding light, which is your flash, once again, your bird, can be used a lot for information. What do I mean by this? Well, unlike a Phoenix or a breach flash, and more similar to a Leer, you can actually shoot these and destroy these birds. Now, this is a really, really good thing, and I think part of the reason why Riot was like, yeah, this character is okay. If you could not blow up these flashes, she would be the most overpowered character in the game, I think. I cannot even imagine Skye without these flashes being able to be destroyed. But because you can, I think it keeps her in a more balanced place, even if maybe she's a bit on the OP side, at least from what I've seen so far. Now, with that being said, guiding light for information, what do I mean? Well, the enemy can shoot them, right? What does this mean? This means that the enemy is going to give away their position to shoot them, or they're going to be blinded, right? It's a very simple trade-off. It's one or the other. And because of this, once again, you can use guiding light as sort of that entry type ability, where if you just want to send one of those birds in, see if an enemy shoots it. Even if you're not necessarily going for a flash, get that information, send one up mid, maybe, and see if the enemy shoots it, just so you know where people are playing. I think that there's going to be some really, really creative uses of these birds to bait out the enemy, because a lot of people are going to instinctively be like, oh, I don't want to be blind, I'm going to shoot this, give away their position, and then get spammed or something. Really cool option, I think, with Skye is that, hey, you don't have to blind them all the time. You know, let people shoot them, get your information, relay that to the team, and then make your move. All right, coming in with tip number 8 is actually once again, a really cool usage of the ultimate. Now, I talked about the ult earlier in tip number 5 about chasing it, but I did kind of leave that caveat there that, hey, there are some cool plays you can make with the ult where you don't actually have to follow it. One of those is to ult for information going in a low XVX situation to find the enemy. So if, for example, you're in a 2v2, 2v3, or 3v3, whatever it is, some players have been eliminated, we got 3 dogs, send them out. And now you want to use this probably later, a little later in the round, like maybe post-plant. You just plant the bomb, the enemy team is rotating. You don't want to get flanked, right? So after a little bit of time, use your dog, use your ult, excuse me, send those dogs out, see where they go, see where they're going and into what area to figure, okay, are we going to get flanked here? Are all 3 players on the same side? Can we reposition? I think that the ult is going to be extremely good for playing in those post-plant situations, because it's going to tell you exactly where the enemy is. Think of it kind of like a Cypher ultimate in this sense, that also is going to like near sight people and just completely disorient them. It's going to be awesome. I think that it is an extremely powerful ult, by the way, and in these low XVX situations, you're going to see a lot of value by using it once the bomb's been down for like 5-10 seconds to get you that extremely valuable information about where the enemy team is positioned. Okay, tip number 9, something that maybe I need to remind myself about, and that is to always jump. Always use your left click with Trailblazer. Now, Trailblazer is the dog that you can chase people in. You go into that mode, kind of like a recon drone. And part of the problem here is that a lot of times towards the end of the ult, you may not see anybody, but there is this kind of ranged jump that you do with the left click, which obviously you do to, I believe it is, you deal some damage, and I think you near sight, you might disorient, something like that, right? Anyways, you want to do it. The problem here is that you may not always see somebody at the end of your sort of time with the dog, but you still want to jump. So you still want to left click at the very end. You have to do this. Why? Because sometimes you will jump to a corner or to a spot. Maybe you weren't quite there. Maybe you didn't know somebody was there, but because there's a little bit of AoE with it, you might actually be able to hit someone with it still. Very, very important. This is something that I was struggling with. I realized I wasn't actually left clicking enough towards the end, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of throwing. So I just want to give that as a tip here, as a little bit of a reminder, not just to you guys, to myself as well. Make sure you guys use that left click at the end, regardless of if you see somebody or not. You never know. You might be able to hit someone with it. And the final tip, tip number 10, I want to talk about Skye's playstyle and why you should play her like a support. I know I talked about this a little bit earlier, like playing her like Breach, but the really interesting thing about Skye is that she is one of those agents in the game that with teamwork feels like she could be unstoppable in terms of the value she brings. Like, it is just, I'm almost leaning towards the fact that she might be a must pick. Now, the reason behind this is that because you can curve flashes, you can get a flash exactly where you want without putting yourself into any danger, essentially, which is just an unbelievable sort of like ability. I mean, when you really think about it, of course it can be destroyed, but being able to just send that bird whatever you need it to is crazy. Because think about how close your teammate could be to it. You just briefly curve it around the wall, it blinds the enemy, doesn't blind your teammate, he's right there already swinging, bada bing, bada boom. I mean, like, think about the plays that are going to be made with that bird. Then you've got the ult as well, giving tons of information, chasing people, you know, forcing them to shoot, give away positions. Then you've got Trailblazer, the dog, allowing you to essentially use it like a recon drone, getting information, near-sighting enemies, and then you've got a heal as well. I haven't even talked about the heal. Little AoE heal, kind of useful. Didn't really find too much value with it in my games. Obviously, people ran to me for heals, which is, you know, it is what it is. But if you play Skye like a support, you maybe play that second, third entry role. You flash for your entry flaggers. You flash for your entry fraggers. You play back. You play on sites. I think you're gonna find an incredible amount of value. Anybody right now who's playing like Breach or who's playing Sage or Sova, I would highly recommend checking out Skye as another alternative to add to your list. And honestly, anybody, seriously, regardless of what you play, I highly recommend unlocking her and just giving her a shot. I had a blast. I learned so much, and honestly, I cannot wait till she comes back because I'm definitely going to be grinding her a ton more. And guys, that is where we're going to end the video on Skye. 10 tips and tricks. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a ton of fun playing her on stream. Once again, I stream every single day, 12 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you guys there. It was a ton of fun. I'm kind of sad they took her away, but can't wait till she comes back and they get this patch all fixed and straightened out. If you guys enjoyed this video, of course, leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and tap that bell. Leave a comment as well, what you'd like to see next, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys, and peace.